For me, though, another team that's real or fake, I'm going with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, me and John, we've been here, man. This has been one of our teams. This team is, and I got them on the TV right now.
Me too.
This team is legit, man, and I mean that in the sense of they may not win the championship. I don't think just because you don't win the championship, you're not a legit team. They may not have all the powers to stop Boston Celtics, but I look at this team and I think they are completely going to change the narrative of what the idea of this team is. People thought the Twin Towers couldn't work. People thought the two-guard lineup couldn't work. People thought this team should have upgraded in the offseason. You're looking at players like Karis LeVert, who's improved. You're looking at players like Darius Garland, who gets back, who's looking back to form. Evan Mobley, who may not have improved in the numbers, but from eye test, you can see the vast improvements in his game. Looking at Jared Allen, he's improved. Donovan Mitchell is still very much Donovan Mitchell. Ty Jerome has stepped into this lineup. He's improved. I mean, this team feels deeper than it's ever been, even though it's essentially had the same players for the past 2 or 3 seasons. And you didn't even get Max Strus back, who's another player that can add to this three-point shooting variance to the defense of this team. And I think for them, just the way they play, the continuity they play with, the defensive attention, 1 through 5, they play defense at a high level. Every guy is balled in on the defensive side. They're able to communicate really well. They have the rim protection. They have the guys that can guard on the perimeter. Then you look at offensively, they have 2 uber efficient playmakers along with guys who can stretch the floor, guys who can get to the rim, guys who has the little floater in them, just guys who at all 3 levels can get a bucket while being able to hit the extra guy. I mean, this team, for me, seems real in the sense of they can make some real noise, maybe touch the Eastern Conference Finals. And with teams like Milwaukee and Philly, who don't seem like those dominant teams like before, you're looking at just Boston, who Cleveland does play in a couple days. Yeah. And they've always given them fits in those matchups in the regular season. Even last year in the playoffs, we saw them play them really, really tough outside of most teams. Unfortunately, D-Mitch did get hurt. Yeah. But outside of that, like maybe in Orlando when Boncaro gets back, but this Cavs team seems real for me. And it seems like Kenny Atkinson has really done an important job with this group.
Absolutely. 4 teams, I voice cracked there. 4 teams in NBA history started off a season 14-0. The Cleveland Cavaliers just joined that group. The other 3 teams, the 1994 Houston Rockets, won the NBA Finals. The 2003 Dallas Mavericks lost in the conference finals. And the 2016 73-9 Golden State Warriors, who lost in the finals.
No Bulls teams. No MJ teams. No MJ teams is shocking, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I am a little bit surprised because they won 72 games, of course. You look at this Cleveland Cavaliers team. They're the best offense in basketball. Last year, their average with Darius Garland being hurt, not being his true self, Jared Allen missing a lot of time, and the three-point shooting not being there. And what held them back so much last year is a lack of floor spacing because you're playing 2 bigs together. So what Kenny Atkinson has done with this new group is staggering the minutes of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley with the 2 guards. And the biggest theme in allowing him to separate the guards' minutes is the amount of shooting that they have. You have Ty Jerome playing super well off the bench. The 6'5" combo guard that can shoot well, is a good playmaker. He's fine defensively. And then you plug in someone like Georges Niang. He has been making the shots, but he's one of the most well-respected shooters in the league. You have Sam Merrill who's shooting very well, and those guys have all done a good job defending to where there's only one guy can kind of exploit defensively, and even then you have arguably the best defender in the world, Evan Mobley. And if you don't think he's the best, I would certainly believe he's top 3. Jared Allen, same exact thing. So what Kenny Atkinson has done is find a formula where you're getting your best playmaker and your best defender on the floor at all times. Because Garland's playing his best basketball. He's been uber efficient. And when he comes out the game, you have that lineup of Donovan Mitchell and then Evan Mobley together. And specifically to give you some data, when Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley are on the floor, without Garland and Jared Allen, they're a plus 20 points per 100 possessions. That is in the 99th percentile. That's with their 3 bench players of LeVert, Georges Niang, and Sam Merrill. Then when Garland and Jared Allen are on the floor without Donovan, their best player, they're still a plus 10 per 100 possessions, 85th percentile. So Atkinson's has found a way to maximize the front court and the back court by kind of hiding those deficiencies of floor spacing and I guess you could say defensive versatility, because it is really hard in today's NBA to win with a front court of 2 bigs that both aren't high-level shooters and then 2 undersized guards who aren't super versatile defensively. So I think Kenny Atkinson's done the most you could possibly expect out of this group. And then offensively, this team's shooting as well as any. They're first in 3-point percentage. They're first in 2-point percentage. And really the benefits are shown because the vibe's never been higher here in Cleveland.
And I want to add to that because you guys kind of covered about everything you can with the Cleveland Cavaliers in terms of an X's and O's standpoint. I just want to throw in the fact that I'm impressed with the circumstances they dealt with last year. I mean, Darius Garland missing extended time. He had literally a jaw issue, couldn't really eat for a month.
Broke his jaw,
Yeah, he broke his jaw. He couldn't really do anything. He comes back, and how do you come back the same that way? So you're missing a star pretty much all season long. Evan Mobley's at that weird tweener stage of his career where he's not quite a super young player anymore, but you don't expect him to be ready yet. And it just feels like this year everything is lined up for Evan Mobley in that year 4, age 23 season. That's often a year we start to see people put it together, and that's what we're seeing right now. Darius Garland, confident, healthy, just fresh, all of the above for him right now. He looks like the old Darius Garland. And then you also just combine that with a coach who just has a better grasp of a roster that's complicated, but really talented and has a lot of layers and dimensions to it if you challenge it the right way, right? You have 2 undersized guards who can't defend and 2 bigs who aren't great shooters. On one hand, that's usually something that is a big problem and something you can't figure out. But because those guys are so elite at what they do, if you have enough guys blended in the right staggering rotations, as you alluded to, John, you can figure it out. And that's exactly what Cleveland's doing. And they've also found a lot of guys on the margins. Ty Jerome, I think everybody kind of gave up on him after his first stint in the NBA. He comes, now he's a key rotation player. Sam Merrill, I think he was the last pick in the draft. And you just go from top to bottom, and it's just a deeper team who's found a lot of good players on the margins, and that's what great teams do. You don't build great teams by getting top 10 picks every year. You find your core, and then the rest of your roster should be guys that you get above draft value for. That's why the Toronto Raptors won the championship a few years. Not one lottery pick on that team. So Cleveland has done a really good job of just the timing is kind of lined up properly. They got the right coach, and they're getting good talent on the margins, including Jared Allen, who they got for nothing.
Exactly. Torian Prince in the protected first.
Oh, that's actually nuts. Yeah, guys like Dean Wade, another guy. It's not like, and their 3-point variance, they don't even take a shit ton of threes. Like, I'm pretty sure they're probably the middle of the pack in the league in 3-point attempts, but they're just getting quality open looks. Like, their shot quality, if I had to guess, on threes is probably top of the league. I mean, Dean, you mentioned it, like getting guys on the margin. Dean Wade, Karis LeVert, who people kind of, forgot about him because of his multiple injuries in Brooklyn. George Niang, like you mentioned, Craig Porter Jr. last year, he's still in the roster. I think he's a good player if they ever decide to give him minutes, if they ever find any. Even Isaac Okoro, who's still trending upward in this kind of development, he's still a quality player for them. So this team is just great. And shout out to Kenny Atkinson. He's one of the best development coaches in the league. Golden State hated that he went away, but yeah, he's done an amazing job so far in Cleveland. I'm interested to see like that point in the season when every team gets to where they kind of get a crack in their armor. How do they respond to it? How do they, come back from it? Because, they are 14-0, 13-0, whatever it is. Eventually, they're going to lose. This is just – it's life. It's a part of it. Eventually, you're going to lose. How many losses do you take after that? Do you go on a small skid? How do you respond from a skid? So I'm very curious and interested to see that point of the season.
Absolutely. And one more thing to finalize this discussion. It was always crazy to me how the Nets fired Kenny Atkinson after rebuilding a team that was the most hopeless in the entire association, developing the likes of Spencer Dinwiddie, second-round pick, Joe Harris, miscast second-round pick, a guy like D'Angelo Russell, rehabilitating him after a disappointing stint with the Lakers, but then also Karis LeVert as well, who, like you highlighted, dealt with a lot of injuries. Karis has some of his best basketball. He's been uber efficient, and he's one of those jack-of-all-trades wins who's like a B- skill. His skill set is basically B- at every single value, whether it's passing, shooting, defense. He brings a bit of everything, and that's what allows them to run lineups where Donovan and Darius are not on the floor together because you have a little bit of everything there. And then at the same exact time, I think really what it comes down to for Cleveland is just finding that kind of break. Last couple of years, they've dealt with injuries nonstop. And it seems like, with exception to Max Strus, they've just kind of found that bill of health that they needed. And now you're looking at this team as potentially the first seed in the Eastern Conference, which that's obviously they are right now.
To close it out. To add to that point, Cleveland is usually hurt. Jared Allen deals with injuries. Evan Mobley deals with injuries. Darius Garland deals with injuries. Something's going to come. 95% chance something is going to come with one of those guys. How do they respond to that? And how do they respond being the hunted? So those are two things. It's really cute and fun in November basketball when, oh my gosh, look at the teams the Trailblazers and the Pistons are beating. And oh my gosh, the Cavs are 14-0. But now when you're 14-0, you're in a pretty rare category. And now teams are going to target you the way that they weren't targeting you to start the season. They were just a good team to start the year. But now they are considered a contender. So how do they deal with that?